So we're going to read quite a few scriptures today. It's chapter 24, verse 13 to 35. I don't usually read 21 verses, right? So we're going to be here all night. If you got to go, hold it. No, I'm kidding. All right. Ready? Luke chapter 24, verse 13. Behold, two of them were going that very day to a village named Emmaus, which was about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and they were talking with each other about all these things which had taken place. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself approached and began traveling with them, but their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are these words that you are exchanging with one another as you are walking?" And they stood still, looking sad. One of them, named Cleopas, answered and said to him, Are you the only one visiting Jerusalem and unaware of the things which have happened here in these days? He said to them, "What things?" And they said to him, "The things about Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word, and in the sight of God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to the sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all this, it is the third day since these things happened. But also some women among us amazed us. And they were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just exactly as the women also had said. But him they did not see. And he said to them, O foolish men, slow of heart to believe, and all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary for the Christ to suffer these things and to enter his glory? Then, beginning with Moses and with all the prophets, he explained to them the things concerning himself in all the scriptures. And they approached the village where they were going, and he acted as though he were going to go further. But they urged him, saying, "Stay with us, for it is getting toward evening. And the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he had reclined at the table with them, he took the bread and blessed it, breaking it, and began giving it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sights. They said to one another, "Was not our hearts burning within us while he was speaking to us on the road, while he was explaining the scriptures to us?" And they got up that very hour and returned to Jerusalem and found gathered the 11 and those who were with them, saying, "The Lord has really risen and has appeared to Simon." They began to relate their experiences on the road and how he was recognized by them in the breaking of the bread. Quite a story, huh? Yeah. I mean, can you kind of feel it? Can you kind of see it? So here's where we're at. He's been crucified. He's been resurrected. They said it was nonsense when the women came back saying he's risen. Oh, that's nonsense. They're having all these feelings, these experiences, and two guys get on the road to Emmaus, 7-mile journey, and a stranger starts talking to them. Jesus approaches and begins traveling with them in verse 15. And their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. So I met Jesus, of course, 49 years ago tonight. I went forward at an altar that had a 3-step stage, just like this. I literally built this stage based on that 3-step stage. I was over to your left, my right. Piano was right there. And the guy was a blonde, hippie-looking guy. He comes over and he prays with me. He's right there. 20 seconds is all he prayed. I repeated after him, and I met Jesus, and my eyes were opened. My eyes were not prevented from seeing him. I actually literally did not like Christians whatsoever, did not want any church people bugging me, and I busted through the crowd to get out the door, and I went out that door, and I got froze. The world was a different place, and I think about that all the time. I asked him a question that day. I prayed a prayer outside that was different than the 20-second prayer I prayed up here. I said, "Is it possible for you to not let me forget what not knowing you were real was like?" The young man sitting in that chair that came over to this altar Can you remind me? Can you never let me forget how I felt before I went to that altar? I never want to forget that. I don't ever want to forget what this is. I looked at a tree, a magnolia tree, and I said, the world's a different place. I don't know what's happened. I only know he's real. I couldn't believe it. And I had this other profound, there were several profound things that I've never forgot. Would you not let me forget what being unsaved, or not knowing you, not even knowing if you're real, being like constantly saying, I don't know. Now I know. Can you never let me forget what it was like to not know? And I said, Lord, the world's a different place. I don't know what's going on. I felt this incredible weight was off me. Like, how is this? And then I just, like, you didn't reject me. I would have rejected me. You didn't. I reject everybody. You step on my toe and you're my enemy. I've cursed you. You didn't. You're real and you're with me. And my eyes were opened. And then I read this, They were prevented from seeing him. Their eyes, verse 16, their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. I remember saying that day. I said, wait a minute. I prayed to God. No. I prayed Jesus. This is Jesus doing this. Oh my. Being raised a Catholic, I'd heard from the Gospels a lot. I'd walked the Stations of the Cross. I'd seen that. I knew Jesus was the center. He was always on the cross my whole life. I knew who he was, and I prayed to him. It was him I prayed to. Jesus, if you would. And I saw him. I didn't see any apparition. I didn't have a picture. I mean, no man walked up to me the way he did them. But I recognized him. He had changed me. He didn't reject me. He would do that for someone as cruddy as I am. There's something about this. I'll go wherever you send me. You know I'm weak, right? You know I'm a loser. I'm a hater. Will you lead me in this? Because I don't know how. I've forgotten. So these guys, their eyes were blinded. Then these guys tell the story of their belief. That's what's so weird. I had a belief. I have prayers from childhood that he answered every one. I should never have become this hater. I shouldn't have. I'm telling you the truth. I asked that my parents never get divorced, and they never did. I prayed fervently, don't let them get a divorce, and they never did. I prayed fervently my brother wouldn't go to Vietnam, and he never did. I knew he was going to die. I loved him more than anybody I'd ever loved, and I didn't want him to go to Vietnam. He will definitely die. He's a bozo. He's going to walk right in. He'll walk in the minefield. Don't let him go to Vietnam. I said, I wish there was a way I could go to heaven someday. From everything I'm hearing, it's too late. And there at that altar, he revealed to me, and he answered, I shouldn't have been that guy. The guy that walked out of the crowd and marched up to the altar and gave his life, I shouldn't have been that guy. I had all this evidence in my life. I would sit in those pews. It was such a holy place. See, we had to treat the building as holy. You cross the threshold, you got to touch this water and do this thing. You cross in front of the altar and you got to bow. Nobody's bowing anymore anywhere else. Oh yeah, we had to bow. We had to make it reverent. I had all the evidence I needed to not be that guy, and I was that guy. And I look at these guys. You know what they went on? They said, we were hoping that he was going to deliver us. We were hoping he was going to save us. They had all the knowledge. They'd been taught everything. They knew everything. And the girls come back from the grave and they say, that's nonsense. If you remember last week, you can read those verses on your own if you want. That's nonsense. He's not dead. He's alive. That's nonsense. They had no right to believe that way. They're in doubt on this road where they're going. They're in doubt, and they had no right to have doubt. They've been in the country that everything is word of mouth and everybody's constantly talking. And they even say that his legend spread everywhere. Are you the only guy on earth that doesn't know these stories? Because they've all heard them. How could they not believe? Did you hear me? They've had so many experiences. They've heard so many things. The blind guy in their town walking around, the guy sitting in the corner with crooked legs, they have to feed him all their life. And he's not there anymore. And the leper colony outside of town, the whole town has to bring offerings to feed them so they don't come to town and give us leprosy. You think COVID was bad? The fear of leprosy, horrifying. They have no right not to believe. God has done so many things in their midst. And this Jesus, see, it doesn't matter they don't recognize him. He's hidden from them. And I'm like, man, he wasn't hidden from me. But now in the 90s and the 2000s, it's like nobody can see them. Like, what's going on? What's wrong with you? You can't see him. Well, maybe he's hidden from you. Maybe you're like them and you deserve it because you've had all the evidence you've ever needed. You have all of the experiences you've ever known. And you know, but you won't. And he's hidden from you. It's like, that would terrify me. That would terrify me. See, I believe he was hidden from Vicky until I arrived. And then he showed her that he was with me. And she says, well, if he's with you. And she prayed with me. And then he was with her. And you know what she did when she found out he was true? She went all in. She was actually going to kick me to the curb and keep him. And I think that's pretty cool. That's true, right? Yeah, she was calling to say, don't come to Spokane. But she was going to be a Christian because she found out he was real. Luckily, the Lord sent me before her phone call, and we didn't have cell phones. You people with now in the age of cell phones, you're going to get called away from the will of God. I couldn't be because she couldn't get a hold of me. I was in an old van going, no more than 50 miles an hour in that old straight six. Anyway. So we were hoping that he was going to save us. And then he tells the story. Some of the women, they told the truth. And they told these stories. And we didn't believe them. But it's starting to become evident that he's alive. And the guy's standing next to him. You know how many people I've ever known are talking about Jesus and he's like, like he's right here. Let's go find him. No, he's right here. You don't got to go anywhere. He's right here. If he would only do this, this, and this, I would believe. He doesn't have to do this, this, and this. He's already done that, that, and that. And you still won't believe. And if he does this, this, and this, you won't believe anyway. Because you wouldn't believe when he did that, that, and that. Anybody feeling what I'm saying? You picking up what I'm laying down? Hearing what I'm telling you? Why won't we believe? Why won't we believe? Jesus finally cries out, you foolish men. You're so slow of heart. What's the matter with you? What's the matter with you? And it says their eyes were opened. They're eating with him and their eyes are opened and he disappears. He just disappears. Great. Now that my eyes are open, he disappears. What's cool about the story is they said, we're going back to Jerusalem. Forget the journey. Forget our plans. Let's go back to Jerusalem. Because he might be there. If he's alive, he might be in Jerusalem with the boys. Have you seen evidence? Have you seen the truth? Has your response to that truth been commensurate with the truth? Like, has it been? Are the things you're living for worth Jesus dying for? Are the things you're living for worth God becoming flesh and dwelling among us and presenting himself to you? Do we get to see him? I know as a child, the kinds of evidence I had, it's almost with great shame that I tell you, I shouldn't have been that guy. I tell you how much I hated, how angry I was, how I let the abuse of other men control me. I let them drive my life and turn me into whatever they wanted to do. People who misspoke to me or mistreated me or didn't give me what I deserved or gave me what I didn't deserve in negative. I shouldn't have let them be driving my life. I had every evidence to not do that, but I did. And there I was, that guy, and yelling at people who preached Jesus, telling them I hated them, I'm going to punch you in the mouth. Guy that took me to the concert that I went forward at. Told him, you talk to me. You say the name of Jesus again and it's on. I'm gonna be swinging. I'm gonna hit you in the mouth. And he was there that night, and so he was afraid to talk to me because I told him if he talks to me, I'll hit him in the mouth. And I ran out the door and he didn't want to chase me, and I just shouldn't have been that guy. I had no right to be that guy. I love this phrase. Did our hearts not burn within us while he was speaking to us? Does his heart burn? Does your heart burn for Jesus? And when you're in his presence, does your heart not get focused? Did you turn to him? Yeah, I would be terrified if he was hidden from me. He was hidden from them. God, I can't imagine that. I can tell you with all my heart, it is 49 years ago. 49 years ago right now, I was looking through windows trying to see if a guy was coming to kill me. He thought I was with his Stella. I answered the phone. He says, "What are you doing there at my Stella's house?" And I'm like, "I'm not at Stella's house. I'm at my brother's house." I couldn't get it through my head. He didn't know where I lived, but I was peeking through the windows because I thought he told me he's going to cut me up in pieces and do all these horrible things to me. And I was 18 years old and scared to death because he sounded like he meant it. God chased me to this concert. My brother was leaving me because I had threatened to hit him in the mouth if he mentioned Jesus, so he wasn't going to invite me to no concert. I said, "You're not leaving. There's a guy coming to kill me. And yeah, he don't even know where I live, but he's coming to kill me. He's a Stella killer. He's going to cut Stella up and he's going to cut me up, and I don't want to be here to chance it." So I forced myself in his car, and I got to this concert, and by the end of the concert, I'm going forward. Shouldn't have been that guy. I'd seen plenty. I'd sat in the shadow of the cross in the crucifix. I had prayed and he had answered me. I had felt his presence in that building so many times. They told me it was house, and I believed it. This is the house of God. See, I didn't know he didn't live in buildings. I believed it, so therefore I felt him. I didn't know he was wanting to live in the house built by him. Are you following me? Am I making any sense at all? And I just think I run around all the time here in the 21st century, and I'm positive I'm preaching to people who he's hidden from. They can't see him. And I pray I'm preaching to at least some. And a few came up today, and I can't tell you how it touches me. I don't want to celebrate my birthdays, or either one, spiritual or physical. I don't want to. That's not what I want. But I tell you what, when people come up and say what they said, I need it. I need to see that some people, he's not hidden from everybody. They can see him in me, and they can see them in them. They can see the growth in them. They can see the change and the reality. Here's what shocks me. They can't see these words. They can be pastors of denominations. They can be the leader, the bishop. They don't see what it says. I ask them, what does it say about this subject? They don't even know. Like you quote, they know the verse. What if I quoted this to you? Oh yeah, they have no clue what it means. It's like, it's hidden. It's like there's a veil. And I'm going to finish. I'm going to tell you how to get that veil taken off. You got to fall in love. As a little child, I loved Jesus. I didn't know how to approach him. I just loved him. I would look at the cross and say, I'd be mad at God. Like, how could you possibly do that to him? I became his buddy. He's like, I'm going to argue for him that he shouldn't have had to do that. I didn't know. I was a kid. I didn't know I was arguing that he is him. He did this to himself. Nobody took his life. He gave it. Nobody forced him to the whip or even the punches or the crown of thorns or the nails or any of it. No one forced him to the cross. I'm saying you did this to him, when the truth is you did this to you, is what the truth really is. And you did it for me. You're answering that prayer, that childhood prayer. I wish there was a way I could go to heaven. There was never going to be a way for me to go to heaven. I'm looking at a bunch of guys here, and there's no way for you to go to heaven. There's just no way. It's impossible. Unless someone does make a way, and he made a way, he went there. And I'm like, God, what happened? See, I know the difference between me and some other people I've run across in my life. I know why, as big a jerk as I can be, how I can also be a giver of my life. Like, how can this guy be this guy? It's him. He's in here fighting me all the time to be more like him. He's in here wrestling with me constantly. I want you to be more like me. Be more like me. And man, when I stop to pause and think about who he is, I want to be just like you. I love you so much more than I ever loved my dad. I always wanted to be like my dad. My dad was my hero. I asked him to be best man at my wedding. I loved my dad. I should say. I love him so much more than my dad. My dad did all kinds of things, gave me all kinds of stuff, imparted to me all kinds of stuff. Yeah, nothing close to what he did. Jesus did. Are you following me? Can you at all hear me? What makes the blinders come off? It's falling in love with him. There's a religion, and you can become religious, and you can do really well in religion. You really can. You can do really well following a religion. You can look, act, smell, see, look like really good stuff. You can really be someone honorable. Religion can do that for you. Family can do some of that for you. Lots of things can do it for you. But there is no anything anywhere under heaven or on earth by which you can become Christ-like other than the love of Jesus Christ. And falling in love with him. Falling in love with you. It's not just a word. I tried last week, and I know some of you weren't here last week, and some of you who were are gone, but I tried to show you about my falling in love with Vicky. Like, I know what that looks like. Can't think, can't formulate a sentence, can't wait, miss her every time you're not with her. I know because I also had a baby. And that first baby was just like an overwhelming, stunning shock. Like, I didn't even know a love like this exists, what I have for Nicole. I didn't even know it existed. It's like overwhelming. So see, I know what love's supposed to be like. But I meet people all the time, and their love for Jesus isn't like that. And I'm like, I wonder if it's not like that, is it really love? I mean, all my only examples I have, the only examples I have are things like my mom and dad, my wife, my children, my grandchildren. How far you want to go in this example? Do I feel different about him than I do all of them? Does it feel similar but more? Well, for me, it's way more. And for their whole life, I'm giving them permission. Love him more than me. I won't be intimidated by it. Keep him number one. It's really important. The answer to, can I go to heaven? Well, is he number one? I wish there was a way I could go to heaven. Is he number one? Then you can. If he's not number one, it says right there in the red letters. Do you know that it actually literally says in here that if he's not number one, you can't be his disciple? Did you know that it teaches you can't go to heaven without being his disciple? Because only his disciples know the truth and are set free. Only his disciples are forgiven. And I got to tell you, man, maybe some of you have been perfect all your life. Anyone volunteering for that one? I am. I am and always have been. You don't need Jesus. Well, if that's you, then you got it. But if it's not, the rest of us, he has to be number one. The throne has to be well built and well sat on. He has to be the throne of your life. Can't be mother, father, brother, sister, or sons and daughters, or you can't be his disciples. Your possessions. He can't be on the throne of your life if he's not on the throne of your possessions. He can't. It's like, can I go to heaven? I wish there was a way I could go to heaven. Well, is he your number one love? I think I can rightly confess that he is. He's my number one love. Always has been. I'm driven. I really can't wait to hang out with my wife. I really can't wait to see my kids. Love my grandkids. It's not different with Jesus. It's even more with Jesus. Do you feel that same way for Jesus that you do for those relationships? Anybody? I mean, is that what you're saying when you say you love Jesus and he's on the throne of your life? And I get it. I get what Mike was saying about every week you come here and your salvation is questioned, your position is questioned. Well, can I tell you that I would pay $1 million for someone to do that for me? Show me from the Bible what standard he's calling for, what he's calling for, so that I got something to aim at. He says it's a narrow road and a narrow door. And then he's got to add that crazy phrase, which I just wish he wouldn't. Few find it. Who do I think I am to think I'm one of the few? Man, my eyes are open. I'm fully intent. I know what hell is. Hell is now that I love him, hell would be to be told I can't be with him. You understand? That would be hell for me. I'm pretty sure there is a lake of fire, and that's got to be one scary thought. But the idea of being told, you can't be with him. Depart from me, you cursed. See, my wife says to me, get out of here. It hurts me. My daughter says, I don't want you around anymore. It sears me to the soul. My Jesus saying you can't come and be with me anymore? What? I'm in hell, man. I would be in hell in a second. Did our hearts not burn within us while he was speaking those words to us? Yeah, when he speaks to me, my heart burns within me. Have you seen the lover of my soul? Have you seen the author of my life? My lover, he comes to me. Have you seen him? He's coming to me. I can't wait to see him. I long for him. Let's go together to the mountain of the Lord. I'm in. There room in the car? I'm in. Let's go to the mountain of the Lord. Are we walking? Let me get my good shoes on. I don't want to only make it halfway. I don't want to stop before I get there. I sure hope you're listening to me. I'm telling you what he's saying. I'm telling you what's happened in this story. He's going to save them all, guys. He's going to come and appear to them. And I can tell you, I can promise you, he'll appear to you. I don't know how. Sometimes in your mind, sometimes in a vision. But he'll appear to you. He'll appear to you. He's the way, the truth, and the life. If you know him, you know which way to go. If you know him, you know what the truth is. And if you know him, you know about your life. If I can shake you up with these messages, then you probably don't know him. Can't tell you how many people have come up to me after going to Light or hearing these, or just even reading the Gospels and said, I've been in church 40 years. I don't even know if I was saved in those 40 years. I found the truth. He's been saying this all along. Yeah, we haven't changed the book. It hasn't changed. This thing was done before I was born. This particular Bible was done before I was born. I didn't change it. That's what it says. So anyway, have you fallen in love with Jesus? It becomes a term that just becomes religious if I keep saying it. I'm not talking about believe. I'm not talking about confess. I'm talking about falling in love with Jesus. Like you fell in love with your wife, like you fell in love with your children, like you loved your parents, maybe your family. Someone out there, you fell in love, so you have an example of how you're supposed to pursue him in love. And I pursue him way more than I do her, and way more than I do her, or her siblings, or their children. I'm after him. He's number one. I have good evidence. I keep no money. I know that my possessions are free. There's a lot of questions to ask, all from the words of Jesus. Have you fallen in love with him? That's my question of the day. I'm way over on my time. They were way over on their time. I'm sure you're all getting antsy. I'm just going to ask you to bow your heads and close your eyes. Vicky? Just let the peace of God settle over you. Just feel his peace. If seeing him is the delight of your heart, then he will grant you that desire. If he is the desire of your heart, then he will grant you the desire of your heart. He will show himself to you right now. Would you just rest in his peace right now? Just feel his peace. If you're not sure you love him the way you would a wife, a spouse, a child, dude, ask him. Tell him, I want to love you more than all of these. Is there anybody here that would say, I want to love you more than all of these? You realize you haven't and you want to? I want to love you. I realize that I have not loved you the way I did my children, my mother or my father, my spouse, myself. Is there anybody here who's feeling that feeling? You would say to the Lord right now, I want to love you more. Would you help me love you more?
I feel like there's some people who don't even know what love is. You weren't loved by your parents. You feel like no one's ever loved you. You don't know what love is. So it's hard to fall in love when you don't even know what that looks like. There's like a vacancy in your identity where you don't trust, you can't follow, you can't listen because you don't know what love is. That's number one. I feel like, and the reason we make you raise your hand or stand up or come forward is because Jesus said, if you confess me before others, I'll confess you before my Father. And there's strength and ownership when you do it. See, Christianity is just not a let's sit in church and that's my offering. It's an action. Falling in love is an action. It's a verb. Christianity is a verb. That's why Steve asked to do things. We ask you to do things. But number one, there's people here who don't know what love is. With nobody's eyes open right now, can you say, that's me. I don't exactly know what love is. I have never really been loved and accepted. And I don't even, as a child, I don't know what it is. I've been vulnerable and without love. If that's you right now, can you just lift your hand really boldly? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There's more. Come on. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you back there. Thank you over here. So it's hard to receive. You put your hands down. God sees you. So it's hard to receive love. So I want you, and if you haven't raised your hand, there's quite a few. I want you to close your eyes right now. Everybody together. Let's be unified and say, Jesus, I recognize I don't really know what love is. I haven't been loved. I don't know how to receive love. I'm very distrustful. If my mom and my dad couldn't love me, how could you love me? How could strangers love me? So I give you permission right now, Jesus, to come into that place, the place of my identity, where I should have been loved, and I wasn't. I want you to be my Father. Say it again. I want you to be my Father. And I give you permission to heal me in my identity, that I would believe you and receive your love and your friendship and your salvation and my relationship with you. I want to be a child protected by my Father. I need you, Jesus. Show me love. Heal me. Heal my mind, my heart, my body, every negative thought I have. And Lord, I right now forgive my mother and my father for being too weak to love me. Say it out loud. I forgive you, Mom and Dad. You hurt me. You didn't show me the love I needed. You rejected me. I needed you. And right now I have a hard time accepting love. But I want to know your love, Father. So I release my mom and dad. Jesus, come on, Spirit. Jesus. And all the consequences of their lack of love in my life. And Jesus, I want to be who you want me to be. Tell me who I am. How you see me. Just wait for a second. Come, Holy Spirit. Jesus, come, Holy Spirit. Jesus. Jesus. Now for the rest of us. I'm going to ask you to do something bold and courageous today. If you know in your heart that He's not always your first love, other things are, other people are, I want you to stand up where you are and say, Jesus, I am standing up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep coming. I need more of you and less of me. I'm selfish and self-centered. I'm broken. I need more of your love so I can give away your love and more people would see your love in me, Jesus. More, Lord. A few more. Come on, there's more. Stand up. It's confess me before others and I'll confess you before my Father. I can't even see you. I don't even know who you are because the lights are so bright. Jesus sees you right now and He's proud of you.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe so that you never miss another video or live stream. And if you'd like to support the Father's House, just click the Give button. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you soon.